So back to family court. So we'll decide on trigger, but once a week. This is where you will have the opportunity. Anything that's been concerning for you, this is where you send them to do their work. And then the values, really looking at the values, is really a part of where that is. Because the first thing that will happen is each one reads their facts. The other person has the opportunity to do rebuttal. Were there any facts left out of this? Were there any facts that were different from your perspective? If they can be resolved, where they can reconcile that these are the facts. Both this side and this side's telling of the story are the facts. Is there anything else that's irrelevant that's left out? And you'll be able to guide. This also happened. You also did this. You also did this. But they have the picture now of the facts. Because what happens is stuff happens and you don't get the whole story. We start focusing on the part that's relevant to us and we miss the other part of this, the part of trauma that we create. At that point, the judge's responsibility is to make space for those feelings. How did that make you feel? Because pointing the finger doesn't help you get to resolution. It feeds the ego. How do you feel? And part of this is waiting for them to process that, because if that part doesn't get processed, then what we begin doing is stuffing that stuff into the attic of our minds. We stuff it, and we usually never come back to it. And that becomes the ground zero for a whole nother set of issues, or this is reinforcing something that's already there. Once they've had the time to deal with the emotion part of it, then we can move into the values. How does what happened align with our values? It lets you hear the values of the children. It may be very different than the parents' values, but it lets you hear honestly about those. Now, if you see where values are not aligned, then that becomes the opportunity to have a conversation. But then it goes through, and the goal is to use this form to get to a resolution. But it's to facilitate them hopefully getting to a resolution for themselves. The end piece of it is once they've gotten to the resolution part in the step process, and you're doing this as the mediator, then there's the potential for consequences. That's the verdict. Because what happens is, if they've gone through the resolution process, you've identified where the value conflicts were. And oftentimes it's going to be on both sides. Well, she said this to me, and then you hit her. So everybody's wrong. Everybody plays a part in what's wrong. And then it's being able to say, and here's some consequences. These are consequences that are now earned. And you guys may want to have consequences for offenses, you know. Is it a loss of computer time? Is it a loss of privileges? Is it a loss of... Or it may be, well, this week you had a special activity planned and we're not going to do that now. You know. If the offense is violent. But part of this is, it may get to the point where, one, they're learning how to resolve their conflicts and they don't want to go to court. So they resolve it. You have 30 minutes for the two of you to go in and do the process. Otherwise, we're calling court, and there's court at 7 o'clock tonight. Sorry, no TV time. And if they're able to go resolve it and come back. Because what you're wanting is them to be able to learn how to resolve their feelings in ways that are positive too.